Hey friends, so I am mid filming, which just means when I film, I try to film 4 or 5 classes in one go so that I have quite a few that I can edit and get out to you guys. And I've kind of lost mojo. I'm kind of a bit like ready to pack up and go home, but I'm gonna stick with it. I want to do another 2 before I'm done today. So I thought I'd have a little break, have a cup of tea, and answer some questions that you guys have been asking. So most of the questions I've gotten recently have been about fertility. So this particular Q&A will be fertility specific, except for the first question, which I need to address because I've been getting it so much. And it's such a crazy question because I've never actually seen the movie. So the first question, wait for it, is, are you the Bettina Ray from The Witching of Ben Wagner? And I have to admit to you, when I first read this question, my first thought was, please tell me there is not an adult movie with a woman whose name is the same as mine, because that might be a little bit awkward if they're watching this video and thinking it's me, because to be honest, I only ever get this question from men. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, I looked it up. It's not an adult film. There is a Bettina Ray in a movie called The Witching of Ben Wagner from the 80s. Can confirm, am not that Bettina Ray. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to her. I get asked all the time. It is not me, rest assured. All right, on to the real questions now. So, do you think there are any benefits to using essential oils for fertility? So, I want to start by saying I'm not an aromatherapist. I'm not someone who has any vast knowledge in that area at all. However, I personally have used essential oils throughout my fertility journey. And yes, I did look into what were the best oils for fertility, what was safe for pregnancy, for fertility. I don't know that I was necessarily using them though as like plant medicine. I was more kind of using them within fertility massage because that smell would help to relax me, and more in kind of a ritual type way rather than in using them as a form of medicine, which I guess all I can say is I think yes, they do definitely have their benefits. I think it's about being intentional about how you use them, and I think it's about getting the right advice from the right people. So if you are intending to use them in a medicinal sort of way, then I recommend finding an aromatherapist who can give you advice based on what you need, because what you need will be very different to what I need. So another question I got is, what do you eat in a day? And so I'll give you my answer as to what I eat when I'm at my healthiest. And this is by no means what I eat each and every day, because I, like every person, cycle in and out of healthy eating and rubbish eating and really convenient eating, and so it is not always perfect. So my favorite type of breakfast always involves eggs and some sort of veggies of some kind, so like fried up zucchini or broccoli, and then cook the eggs on top. But look, I also do often just eat avocado on toast because it is super easy. Lunchtimes are usually a salad or a wrap with some chicken or some ham or some eggs or some tuna, something thrown in there protein-wise. Snacks, I eat a range of things: fruit, muesli bars, biscuits at times, cakes, usually if I've made them. Dinners are pretty basic. Someone asked me this the other day, and I'm really the most basic cook. Meat and veg is pretty common in our house. We do occasionally eat pasta. The boys like spaghetti bolognese. Sometimes I'll eat the pasta, sometimes I'll do zucchini noodles. I kind of just see how I'm feeling. We also do a lot of Mexican sort of meals for dinner, so burritos and enchiladas, the boys love that. And I have to confess, I do have the typical mum habit of a couple of pieces of chocolate once the kids are in bed, because you can only bring it out once they're asleep. My favorite is dark chocolate with peppermint. And if I ever eat dessert, it's gotta be a Ben & Jerry's ice cream, that chocolate on chocolate fudge one. I don't actually know what it's called. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I try to eat really good, but I also enjoy yummy snacks as well. So another question was, do I recommend acupuncture for fertility? So I first went to acupuncture after my 3rd loss, and I kind of had heard about it for fertility prior to this, but I don't know, I wasn't really in that frame of mind yet. I think I was just too in the anxiety to really start looking for answers to get me out of the anxiety at that point. So I went after our 3rd loss, and I just remember that first time I could literally feel my body coming down from the anxiety it was on. It was like nothing else, and I've never felt that again. Like, it's definitely been that first time I was so high that I felt it. And that for me has been the key with acupuncture. I don't know how it helped my fertility. I was able to conceive and carry a healthy baby after having acupuncture, but I also didn't continue acupuncture all the way through my pregnancy, or even in the first trimester. I stopped just before we conceived him. I really do credit acupuncture though with helping me to deal with the anxiety and helping to come down from that stress. And that put me in a really good place to be able to conceive. So I can't tell you if they're directly related, but I think it's really beneficial. If you are struggling with stress, if you're feeling really anxious and you're trying to conceive, definitely go and get some acupuncture. It is amazing. Someone else asked what type of prenatals did I take when I was having Luca. I took the Thorn prenatal. It has a methylated version of folate. So one of the things we found out after having those losses was that I have one of the MTHFR. I always read it as the mother gene. I know that's not what it actually is, but that's what my head does. So one of the things with that is I can't process fake folate. So I need a methylated folate, which is kind of like an already processed version that your body can actually do something with. So this particular prenatal has that in it, which is why it was right for me. I think I was taking more than the recommended dose because I was working with a naturopath at the time and she was seeing what my body needed. And I guess I tell you this prenatal, but I don't tell you to go and take that prenatal. I really think it's important to go and see a naturopath to get them to test what your body needs and to give you the supplements that you need specifically, because I think it is so individual depending on where you live in the world, what you eat in a day, what sort of exercise you do, what work you do. All of these things impact your body in different ways. I don't think it's any good copying what I did because it's not going to help. You need to do what's right for you and kind of pull all the pieces of the puzzle in for you to make your fertility work, not just kind of copy me. I hope that makes sense. So another question you guys asked was how many months off did we take from trying to conceive after our third loss? So I've spoken a lot about how we took a big break after the third loss. It was really broken. I just needed to stop thinking about it. I know you understand how it kind of becomes all consuming. If you've not watched one of my other videos where I speak about taking a break from trying to conceive, I'll have that linked below. But we took about 8 or 9 months off. And I have to say, I didn't like come to this grand realization in that time where I was like, I am ready and feel like completely at peace and with ease and all of that. I just kind of started getting itchy feet again, to be honest. I remember around the 8-month mark, I was starting to like look for like my acupuncturist or my naturopath or my counselor to be like, okay, Bettina, I think you're ready, and like give me permission to try again. I was like kind of prompting that conversation and it never happened. And I would come home from those appointments and feel a bit frustrated that like, I didn't get permission to try again. And it wasn't until I kind of sat with that for a bit in my own practice and realized I don't actually need anyone's permission. And that's kind of the whole point, that I am the expert on my body. And interestingly, just before we started trying again, I kind of quit a lot of the stuff I'd been doing. So I quit acupuncture. I was kind of a little bit done with being told all the things that I needed to do, must do for fertility, and that this was wrong and that was wrong. Yes, some of the things they told me were helpful and really helped me to feel good in my body and really helped me to make, I think, positive changes for fertility. But some of them were just like, it actually made it almost impossible to live a happy, relaxed life because it was so strict. I was starting to go to acupuncture appointments and be a little bit stressed out by the conversation and stressed out by all the things she said were wrong. So I quit acupuncture. I still was using my supplements. I was still taking all the things that they had recommended. So there were some Chinese herbs, which were really great for building back up my blood. Obviously having 3 losses, I'd lost a lot of blood, and building that back up, which I found really helpful. So I continued those. Like I continued the things that felt good for me, but I really took a big step back from the stuff that was just starting to feel tedious. And I took a big step back and I just decided, nope, I feel the healthiest I've been in years. I feel really good. I feel really positive. I'm prepared that if it's another loss, that I will get through that because I've done it before. And if that's what it means to have another baby, then I'm ready. And I just kind of started getting itchy feet again. So going into trying again, I was in a better place mentally. I felt way more relaxed. I dealt with my anxiety, had some tools to deal with it if it came up again. And I also shared a lot of the must-dos of fertility because I was kind of sick of living like that. Yes, I was still doing a lot of things that were good for fertility, like I wasn't drinking too much, but I would have a glass of wine and not worry about it. And I would eat gluten and not worry about it. And I just stopped, I guess, all the extra worry, if that makes sense. And then finally, the last question I got is, what would you do differently if you could go back to after that first loss? And I think that's a really interesting question. And I try not to live my life like that because I think if you live your life doing too much of what ifs, you just create a lot of suffering for yourself. I think hindsight is a beautiful thing. And of course I'm going to answer this question, but I do try not to think too much about that. But I guess if I have to answer it, the biggest thing after that first loss is I would have given myself more time to heal. That first loss for me was really big, and it was because it was 16 weeks and I had to give birth to him. Like, that was one element of it. But I don't think it really matters. Like, my heart would have still been hurt if it had happened at 6 weeks or earlier. But I just underestimated how much healing work I needed to do after that first loss, and really just tried to dive back into trying to conceive as if that would somehow heal me. And in a way, there's a healing part of it. Like, having a healthy pregnancy and a baby after a loss is very healing. And that was a part of my healing journey. I won't deny that. But it's also quite risky because I feel like it means you go into another pregnancy not having dealt with a lot of the emotion of the past loss, which makes the next pregnancy super stressful, makes your coping super low. Like, it just makes it harder. So I just really wish, because my experience then became 2 more losses, I just wish I'd given myself more time. And of course, at the time, didn't know I was going to have 2 more losses. For some women, yeah, you go straight into a healthy pregnancy and that becomes a part of the healing journey. But for a lot of us, I think, who have recurrent losses, much more time is needed to heal after them. I was doing some reading the other day about trauma and how we really need 3 months after a trauma to kind of really work our way through it and process it. And I really feel that. I feel like the 3-month mark is something's starting to turn. And I wish I'd given myself 3 months after each of my losses to take some time to heal. I don't know whether that would have changed the outcome, whether I would have had a healthy baby sooner. And like I said, I don't take too much time dwelling on that, but I really recommend, if you've had a miscarriage, if you've had a stillbirth, if you've had a termination, whatever type of loss you've had, take 3 months. It seems like eternity when you're in it, but actually in hindsight, you need that time to heal your heart. You need that time for your body to kind of recalibrate and to build your blood reserves back up and to just come back to a place where it doesn't hurt quite so much. So that would be my advice if I had to go back. I hope that this Q&A has helped somewhat. If you ever have any questions, feel free to just leave them in the comments of any of my YouTube videos. I do read your comments and sometimes I make a whole video out of it. Sometimes I'll do a Q&A like this. You can always also send me an email. I'll leave that linked in the description box. And I do have a community as well. If you are looking for a place to connect with women who are on a fertility journey, we connect in a Slack community. So it's called the Online Yoga Circle. I'll leave that community linked below. So this is just a place where you can come and talk about all the challenges of trying to conceive. I previously had this group on Facebook, but I didn't like how public it was, if that makes sense. Some of the stuff we talk about in that group is not the stuff that you would want to talk about and have anybody in your friend circle here. So having it off Facebook just feels a little bit nicer, a little bit more private. You can choose any name that you like. You can come up with a code name. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is that you're able to connect with other women who are on the same journey as you. And if you would like another way to make some real connections with women who are going through this as well, I would recommend my monthly women's circles. So we meet virtually, we meet on Zoom, and this has been so powerful for the women who've joined us for the last few months. Being able to connect with women all around the world who are also struggling to conceive and who are having the same challenges as you and who understand where you're at is just life-changing. So again, that'll be linked below if you'd like to join us for the next circle. They're usually on the first Wednesday of every month, and I do 2 different time slots so people in different time zones can join us. I hope to connect with you there soon, and I'll see you in the next video.